welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channels. This is EPR Originals, and as you can see, this is a crochet video. Is this a tutorial? Sort of. Is there a written pattern for you to follow? No. Is this for beginners? Probably not. Are you going to be able to follow me? I hope so. I do have to hold my yarn differently than normal, so it might be a little hard for you to see things. But let's start off with, and let me cut this light on because I cut my light off. Hold on. Well, let's start off with what we need. We need some yarn. This is a Caron 1-pounder. I believe the color is denim. Caron 1-pounder tends to be one of my go-to yarns. I have a size 8 crochet hook. You can use a stitch marker if you need it. I'm not going to because it's a pretty small project and I don't usually use them on small projects. You're going to need a yarn needle to sew in your ends. You're going to need scissors, of course, to cut your yarn. You're going to need an eyeballie. And you're going to need some way to attach that eyeballie. And you may be asking at this point, what is this woman crocheting? Well, we are going to learn how to crochet an elephant one stitch at a time. So let's start by unraveling some yarn here. Woo! I'm going to try to keep in shot because I do have to hold this further out from my body than I like to when I normally crochet. We're going to start with making a magic circle. How do you make a magic circle? That's a very good question. I had to watch a million YouTube videos before I finally figured it out. So what you can do, you can chain 3 and then do your crocheting into your first chain space to make this if you don't know how to do a magic circle, because I know I certainly can't explain it. We're going to do 12 half double crochets in the magic circle. That was 1, 2, and we're not counting 3. That chain 2 as a double crochet. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And now we are going to pull this together, and then we're going to slip stitch into, let me get my yarn the way I need to hold it. We're going to slip stitch into the top of our first half double crochet. And if you need to figure out which one that is, you can count back 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So that's it. We're going to catch our little tail here and we're going to slip it in. We're going to work over our tail for a few stitches. We're going to do 1 half double crochet in this first stitch. Oops, I'm sorry. I forgot to chain up my 2. We're going to chain up 2. And then we're going to do 1 half double crochet. Again, I'm not counting this chain 2 as a half double. Now we're going to put a half double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So here we go. You know, I don't have a written pattern for this. I have a tendency to watch several videos or read several patterns for whatever it is I want to make. And then kind of adjust the pattern to either the way I like to crochet, which is working in the ends over the ends and not sewing anything on at the end as best I can. I kind of alter the patterns to what works for me. So you may have seen something similar to this. But I couldn't tell you what I watched to come up with this, but I tend to, and I also tend to alter patterns. Like if I see something I like, one feature of this pattern and one feature of that pattern, I just try to merge them together. And that doesn't always work because sometimes when I've done that, I've come up with something that looks really weird. So I'm just kind of trial and error and kind of fly by the seat of my pants sometimes on some things. And some things I do follow patterns. It just kind of depends on what I'm going for and what I'm doing. So we got 3 more here. So to do 2 doubles in. Okay, we're gonna do 2 doubles in this last stitch. And we're back around to the beginning, and we're not gonna go slip stitch. We're gonna actually do another, those are half doubles. I said doubles, but you know what I meant. Do another half double back into the first stitch from this round. Back into that first stitch, just because, to make that second, because like I said, I don't count that chain. And I do it here just because I feel like it hides that half double a little better. And then I'm going to slip. I don't know why. I am just shredding my yarn. Well, slip stitch into that stitch. Now we have made the body of our elephant. It's a little round body. So we are going to make our little features of our elephant. So we're going to start with our trunk. We're going to chain 9. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch, and then we are going to single crochet in each chain. Sorry, I got felt like my chain was twisted there, but it wasn't. So we're going to be 6 single crochets. Should be 5. And 6, and you notice we have 1 chain left, 1 chain space left before we get back to the body, and we're going to do a half double in there. Take some more yarn off my ball there, and then we are going to slip stitch to the next stitch on the body. We're going to do a half double crochet in that same stitch, followed by a double crochet. Next stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets. Next stitch, we're going to do a double, followed by a treble. Next stitch, we're going to do a double, and another double. That's 2 doubles in that next stitch. So next stitch, we're going to do a double, followed by a half double. And then at this point, we're going to make the ear, and this is where it might get a little bit hard to follow. So we've got our body, we've got our trunk, we've got our head. To make the ear, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch back into that same spot where we just, I need some more yarn here. Let me roll some more yarn off. Slip stitch to that same spot where we just did the double and the half double. Then we're going to chain 2 more. Okay, now this might be kind of hard to see. So I changed 2, and then we're going to follow this stitch down, and we're going to come under here somewhere, wherever you can hook it. Sometimes I hook it here. Sometimes I hook it on the bar. I think that's where it's going to be easiest to hook. Just kind of depends. Sometimes it's a different place, easier hook. And we're going to hook that there. Now we have this little bar. We're going to chain 2. We're going to kind of turn our work where we can see that little bar we made with that chain 2. And we're going to do 10 half doubles on that bar. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now we're going to chain 2. We are going to slip stitch back around that bar. And then we're going to chain 1 or 2. It just depends on whatever you need for leverage. And then you're going to come back and you're going to slip stitch back into the half double, that last half double you made before the chain first started doing your chain 2s. You're going to slip stitch back in there. Then in the next stitch on the body, you're going to do another half double, followed by a single. And now we're going to slip stitch. We're going to slip stitch 5 and we're going to look at it. Because this kind of varies. That's 3, 4, and 5. We're going to stop. We're going to look at our little elephant now. So we've got our trunk, we've got our head, we've got our ear, and now next we need to make a tail. And I do 5, and I kind of look and see where I am to see if that's where I want to make my tail. It's usually in the 5 to 6 range usually. And it kind of varies from elephant to elephant because, you know, they each have their own little personality because it's a handmade craft and they're not all exactly the same. So I'm going to do one more, which should show that it should have been 6 slip stitches. And now I'm going to chain 4. I'm going to slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. Sorry, I keep saying first, but I'm going to single crochet. Whoops, I did that wrong. Let's back up. Let's back up. Here we go. Do over. Chain 4. You single crochet in that second stitch from the hook. And then you slip stitch in the next 2. And then we slip stitch it back in that same spot that we came out of. I'm having to hold this yarn further from my body than I like to, so this is not very comfortable for me. So then we are going to slip stitch. We're going to do 3 and look at it. I think it's 4 we need to do usually, but yeah, we're going to do one more. Oh, 4. We're going to chain 2. We're going to do 2 half double crochets in that same spot we just chained 2 out of. We're going to chain 2 and slip stitch back in that spot. And we just made our little footsie. And then we're going to slip stitch 3. We're going to slip stitch 2. Slip stitch 2, sorry. I tell you, I kind of fly by the seat of my pants sometimes when I do this. And then we're going to chain 2 again. 2 half doubles. Chain 2. Slip stitch. And then we're going to slip stitch all the way back around to our trunk. And then we're going to finish off. Here, that. So now we have our little elephant. We have a little elephant. We worked this in so we don't have to, as the first tail in, as we went along, so we don't have to do anything with that. So now we need to deal with this other tail, our last tail. So we're gonna thread our yarn needle and we're gonna pull this to the back here. And then we're gonna work it under a few strands of yarn in one direction. We are gonna come back in the opposite direction under different ones, kind of different. And I cut a piece, there we go. And one more time. Gonna clip off our yarn, our little tails. Finish him up. There we go. We have an elephant. Now he needs an eyeball. You can either do a bullion knot if you're good with those things. I'm not. You can do glue a piece of felt on. You can even leave it without an eyeball if you want. But I have these little plastic eyeballies, so I am going to glue one of these on. Let's glue. Lordy. There we go. Don't want to come off. This is good glue, and it just still have a hard time opening it. This is Fabri-Tac glue. I find this is like the best glue for when you're gluing things onto crochet projects. So, and we're gonna there's our little elephant. Now, don't worry if your elephant doesn't look like mine. It's okay, as long as she looks something like an elephant. Each of my elephants look a little bit different. I think that gives them some personality. You know, it is a handmade craft, and I used to stress everything's not looking perfect and not being exactly what I wanted them to be. But, you know, it's a handmade craft. They're going to be different. Each one has its own little personality. Sometimes I do a little bit of a curve in the trunk. I didn't know this one. I was just to make it simple, and I do my curves tip differently each time, and that's by doing extra single crochets or single crochet into those chains together on the trunk. But we just did a straight trunk on this one. And now that you have your little elephant, you might be asking yourself, what am I going to do with this elephant? Well, you can use it to decorate a blanket. It'd be really cute on a baby blanket. You can use it to decorate a scarf or a hat. Or you can do things like glue it to a refrigerator magnet and make it a refrigerator magnet. Glue it to a badge reel, make it a badge reel. Or, if you're like me, you can use it to illustrate a point in a budgeting YouTube video. So thank you for watching me, and like any other YouTube channel, you can like, subscribe, share, comment, all those wonderful things. And thank you for learning how to make an elephant with me, one stitch at a time.